Hey everybody, welcome to another model building workshop. I'm Mr. Allen coming to you from my basement workshop here in Providence, Rhode Island, doing this on behalf of the Community Libraries of Providence. And we're going to be looking at this lovely model. This is the Sturmpanzer IV Brummbar SDKFZ 166. Kind of a mouthful, but Brummbar, or Brummbar, is German for grizzly bear. And if you look at this monstrosity, you can see why they would name it that. Look at that. Big boxy thing with a big gun. Gotta love this. So this is an old Tamiya kit from the 70s. And it's still around. It's still really good. It's a fun kit. But I'm going to show you some ways and how you can up your game with this kit and make a little bit more out of it. And while we're at that, I'm going to show you, this is the 2021 catalog for Tamiya, and it does show that this is still in production, if I can find them. Yeah. Oops. Down the bottom of that page, you can see it's still, at least by 2021 it was still out, and they had produced a new version of this kit. Well, not of this kit, of this vehicle, I should say, because it made a few modifications and they did a later version. There it is. That had, you can see it. And that has a ball-mounted machine gun up on the front plate, which was something that they figured out they needed, because these things rolled off the production line in April of '43 and went into battle on the Russian front, and they noticed that they could use some close support self-defense weaponry, so they added the machine gun. So anyway, this was invented basically after the battles of Stalingrad. Around that period, they really knew they were going to need some serious street fighting vehicles. And they tried a few different experiments making some different types of vehicles like this early on, way back, in 1940 during the Battle of France. They tried mounting some heavy SIG or SIG 33, I think they're like 15 centimeter cannon. They mounted those on Panzer I chassis, which is like a crazy looking thing. So they did try to make these blockbuster type vehicles early on, and another popular one for model builders is the SIG, the 33 version, which was mounted on a Panzer III chassis, a nice boxy thing similar to this on a Panzer III chassis. And that was used during like the Stalingrad battles. But after learning what they learned in Stalingrad, they opted to try mounting, this the 15 centimeter gun on a Panzer IV chassis, since the Panzer IV was now the mainstay of the German army, the backbone of the Panzer Force. So there we go. Let me see if I get some other background here. Yeah, so they were, let's see, I think it said 313 Sturmpanzer IVs were completed by 1945. And that includes the ones that had the ball-mounted machine gun, which came later. So these were designed, like I said, for street fighting, basically to blow up buildings, take out strong points, hit pillboxes, things like that. This is meant for nasty urban fighting, trying to blow any obstacle out of the way, wipe out a whole apartment building or whatever so they can move in troops. That kind of rugged, nasty fighting. This is what this was for. So it had very heavy armor plating on this thing. I think up to like 100 millimeters on the front. I think it was like 70 millimeters on the side, I believe is what it says here. So it was quite, up to 80 to 70, yeah. And the back was up to 78 millimeters as well. So this thing was one heck of an armored beast. So let's take a look at the model. All right, so in typical fashion, here's your Tamiya instruction sheet with its nice history and a photo here. And we'll get to that in just a second here. Typical fold out. The parts break down. Yeah, it's kind of a big instruction sheet. The usual. If you're familiar with Tamiya, you kind of already know what to expect with their instruction sheets, how these things tend to go together. I would say there's no real surprises here. And you get the side skirts, the shirtsen, which are here. They're one piece. But as I did, I scored the partitions in between each of the armor plates, cut them loose, made them separate to give me some more options with this. Kind of a common technique for model builders. Some nice pictures there of the finished model kit. But examples of where you can put extra storage on it. And then you get some basic looking camouflage. Although I tended to go online and look for some more options. Some of the basic ones here. Up top you'll see it's got this weird, like it's naked on the bottom, but that would have been because the armor plate was there. They probably just painted the armor plating, the shirtsen, and then some of the top, and didn't bother going behind the shirtsen. That's not uncommon. And you get a few different marking options for like the 3rd Panzer, the 116th Panzer. Not sure what the 29th Panzer is, or Panzer Grenadier. That's an interesting marking there. Don't know much about that unit. I have to look that one up. And then, of course, the 26th Panzer, which was in Italy. So there you go. So, I'll show you the kit here as I have it at the moment. I still got a few more steps left to do to this. I was going to wait and show this to you when I finished it, but the deadline's kind of pushing, so I needed to get something out there for you guys to watch. So you can see I haven't finished, the second crewman who's on the back there. There's a few things left to do. I'll take him off. So I'm working on this as being in Italy with that kind of a paint scheme. So I have this crew member. You can see, trying to do him in a tropical uniform there, which I've seen pictures of them wearing some tropical gear in the hot climates of Italy. So I've got some of the shirts in here. You can see left some off, and I kind of invented some of my own. Well, I did some research, looked up some other options for decals, although there's a combination of the kit decals and some other stuff here to make this happen. Got the armor skirts on the side here. As you notice, this has got an airbrush camouflage schemes. This is I managed to get this one done before my airbrush decided it didn't want to cooperate with me anymore. And for fun here, I did one with a different camouflage scheme because it was not uncommon for tanks in the field to just suddenly have to replace some armored shields because they were lost in battle. Because these things fell off or got knocked off pretty easily, and they would often source one from a wreck or from some other vehicle or something lying around, and that's what I did here to make it look like we just grabbed one and put it on. It tends to add a little extra color. At least that's what I decided to do with it, just to make it a little more interesting. And there is a photograph I've seen of one of these in battle where it has this plate, which I don't know where they got it from. I don't know if it's even from another vehicle, but it looks like it's on sideways. It has some number from some other tank still partially painted on it. Yeah, it looked pretty ramshackle, but that was kind of eye-catching in a way. So I decided I would do something not quite to that extreme, but but I wanted to do something a little more vibrant to catch your eye. So this is a very fun model build. I built one of these as a teen, and I will try to get some photos of that into the end of this video so you can look at that version that I did. Because I built that many, many years ago. Put that in a diorama, and I'll see if I can grab that after. So there's some extra side skirts, which I still have here. I think what I was doing with these is trying to test out camouflage patterns. So I wanted to do a few modifications to this kit. So one thing I did is, rather than use the rubber band tracks, I decided to pick up from this Academy models the Panzer IV individual track links. So I decided I would replace the rubber ones and put on something else. And these worked pretty well. One of the things you had to do, though, is it gave you new drive sprockets and idler wheels. So you need to, cast aside the kit ones and put on theirs to make sure that it fits. So these are link by link tracks, which give you a slightly different look. Still got to weather those, but I wanted to try that. And something else I wanted to do is I wanted to get this some Zimmerit coating. Now the Zimmerit is the anti-magnetic paste that the Germans put on their vehicles so as to try to prevent the enemy from sticking magnetic mines onto their tanks and blowing them up with magnetic mines. By putting on this paste on the sides of the tanks, it made it difficult, or actually impossible, to stick a magnetic mine on the vehicle. So you couldn't destroy it that way. So I picked up a set from Edward. You can see the patterns on there in the photographs. And that included these photo etch plates, which you then had to glue on to the vehicle. And it was designed for this kit, so it fit pretty well. There wasn't a problem with that. It's just anytime you work with anything that's photo etch, it requires the super glue to make it stick. And working with super glue, in my mind, is always nightmarish. So it took a little bit of prep, some sanding, and then you put this thing on there with super glue and you hope it works. And with a little bit of patience, it managed to fit and stay on. So that's what I did, because I wanted to give it that kind of a look. So hopefully you can see that through the camera lens, that this does have that like wavy pattern of Zimmerit on there. I'm hoping that with the decals you can see it, because I had to use some decal solvent to get the decal to sit down into the grooves of the Zimmerit. And then you get, all your gear, which I've yet to put on this, all the special gear, the jerry cans and the spare road wheels, which I'm debating. Sometimes I like to do some in the old Panzer Gray just to add some extra color, as to whether they would still have any Panzer Gray road wheels sitting around in their workshops by 43, 44. But hey, it makes it look interesting, so I'm thinking of going with it. And there's some extra parts that I still have to work with here, because they do give you an awful lot of gear. Considering the date of this kit, they were already there, really, with the individual track links. You see them? It's just surprising they never adapted that to do an entire vehicle, because these are there on the sprue so that they could be used as spare track to hang on the vehicle as added armor, They got the helmets. They've got wash pans and the typical pail. And you probably wonder, you know, if you built Tamiya kits, you always wonder, what's with the pail? Why does like every model kit they've got come with a pail? Surprisingly, this pail, you know, bucket, if you look at wartime photographs, there's a lot of that. The Germans seem to carry their little buckets, you know, on their tow hooks. They tended to drag these buckets along everywhere. So it's not an exaggeration when they give you this thing, because if you look around in photos, seriously, you know, go source that on the internet or check out some books. They lug these things everywhere. I don't know what the obsession was, but they always had a pail. So it's not so outrageous that they give you that with the kit. So, and then there's the tow cables are here. Of course, these are in the hard plastic, so it's going to be a little more difficult to try to bend and maneuver onto that. Nowadays, they're using string and so forth to work with. And here there's some more stowage of the road wheels, spare road wheels. I think there's a fire extinguisher here, which I decided to do that in gray just to add some extra color. And I think that's pretty much the bulk of it. I got a toolbox to put on. So that's basically where I am with this kit at this point. I'm just working on getting these final pieces on. And I got a little bit more weathering to do to it. But you get the idea, and that's where this project is at the moment. And that's just a way of trying to spruce up the kit. Not that the kit really needs much, because it's a pretty great kit as it is. But if you want to have the Zemeret coating, that's how I did it. I'm not sure about the new kit that they've got out, if that's molded with Zemeret, or if you have to buy that. Not positive. So I've seen some pictures where people have built them in different ways. So, don't know, but it might be fun to see what that kit has to offer. Yeah, again, I got the crew left to work on. You know, one guy's well underway, as I showed you. And the other guy, I haven't even touched it at all yet. Probably put him in a black Panzer uniform. I don't know. I'm still working on what I want to do with that. So we'll see. Anyway. All right. So that is the Sturmpanzer IV Brummbar. So have fun out there. Keep on building. Have a good time, right? We'll see you soon, and I'll try to throw some photos in at the end here. All right. We'll catch you next time. Bye now.